Erez Reuveni. We've talked about Erez Reuveni here a lot. Former, and I want to underscore former, DOJ attorney working on immigration, and not just any attorney, the head, right, of immigration, fired from his job because he refused to do what his superiors, including at the time Emil Boie, was telling him to do when it came to the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. For the very first time, Erez Reuveni has now spoken publicly on television. He did this incredible interview on 60 Minutes. I want to play a portion of it for you now. I invite you to watch it in its entirety, especially while we still can get this type of quality reporting and investigative journalism from 60 Minutes. As you know, CBS Paramount has bent the knee to the Trump administration. Barry Weiss is coming in to be the head of editorial content. So while we can get it, let's enjoy it and let's appreciate it. Just watch this and I'll see you on the other side with a few more thoughts and some commentary. Take a listen.
Among many other cases,
I was promoted. I received 3 awards for defense of fairly high-profile litigation. I defended everything they put on my plate. That was my job.
and at the beginning of the second Trump administration, you were promoted again.
That's right. Very soon into the administration, I was selected to be the acting deputy director of the immigration section, overseeing about 100 attorneys and every case that arose in the federal district courts.
But it was the very day of that promotion, Friday, March 14th, that he and others were called to a fateful meeting with Emil Boie, President Trump's newly appointed number 3 at the Justice Department, who was once Trump's criminal defense attorney.
And we were told at this meeting that over the weekend, the President of the United States would be signing a proclamation invoking something called the Alien Enemies Act. This is a wartime law from 1798, invoked 3 times in the nation's history during the War of 1812, World War I, and World War II.
The Alien Enemies Act allows rapid expulsion from the U.S. of the citizens of enemy nations during a war. But without a declared war, Trump used it against more than 100 Venezuelans that the government said were terrorists. They were to be denied their right to be heard by a judge. Ruvene says Boie expected a challenge.
Boie emphasized those planes need to take off no matter what. And then after a pause, he also told all in attendance, and if some court should issue an order preventing that, we may have to consider telling that court, you.
And when you heard that, you thought what?
Felt like a bomb had gone off. Here is the number 3 official using expletives to tell career attorneys that we may just have to consider disregarding federal court orders.
Remember, Erez Reuveni was the whistleblower that came forward before Emil Bovie's confirmation hearing to become a Third Circuit federal appeals court judge. A lifetime appointment. Now, to refresh your recollection, remember it's the trial court, the district court, right? Then those decisions, those outcomes are reviewed on appeal on the federal appeals court. And then, assuming that it makes it to the Supreme Court, that's the ultimate highest court in the land of the United States that would decide if there were any errors committed below. Emil Boie, as we know, was tragically confirmed to sit on the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, despite this incredibly compelling testimony and evidence. And by the way, as we know as well, Erez brought receipts, emails, and other written documentation that corroborated his claims that Emil Boie effectively told the lawyers at the Department of Justice to tell judges/judicial court orders to go fuck themselves. And yet, despite all of this credible testimony and information provided, the Senate GOP, the Senate Republicans, confirmed Boie. Boie is also former personal counsel for Donald Trump. But I have to put former in quotes, as I do for Todd Blanche, Pamela Joe Bondi, Alina Habba, Lindsay Halligan, and others, right? Because they now all live in these very exclusive and powerful places, in positions in our federal government, courtesy of their dear Führer, Donald Trump. And they are mere law lackeys. And so to call them former personal counsel is a misnomer, because in my humble opinion, and that is shared by others, they continue to carry the water for convicted felon Donald Trump. But I have digressed. So Erez, this is his first TV interview, and he makes it very clear that he was ordered to lie to judges about Kilmar Abrego Garcia. And despite his best efforts to stop the immorality, the lies, the malfeasance, the illegal conduct that was being committed by the DOJ at the time and continues to happen against Kilmar Abrego Garcia, his pleas, his cries fell on deaf ears. I'm going to play another portion of Erez Reuveni's interview on 60 Minutes, and I want you to listen. Listen to what the Department of Justice was ordering him to say, to lie about Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
Lawful means that Keisler says must include giving the detainees a chance in court to contest the charges.
Look, we have a saying in this country, it's deeply embedded in who we are. Everybody deserves their day in court. And all of us want to know that if the government acts against us, we will at least have the opportunity to go to a neutral decision maker, present evidence and legal argument, and make sure that the government stays within its legal bounds.
But does the day in court apply to immigrants?
Absolutely. Nobody can be spirited out of the country without some opportunity to contest the factual and legal basis for that.
And it turned out, when the full facts were known, this Salvadoran man, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, had been deported by mistake. Normally, people deported in error are returned, but instead, Ruvene says that in a phone call from a superior, he was ordered to argue against Abrego Garcia's return by telling a judge that Abrego Garcia was an MS-13 gang member and a terrorist.
And I respond up the chain of command, no way. That is not correct. That is not factually correct. It is not legally correct. That is a lie. And I cannot sign my name to that brief.
You're not saying Abrego Garcia is a choir boy. You're just saying that no one had managed to prove that he was a terrorist.
Here's the really important thing here. Whether Mr. Abrego Garcia is or isn't a member of MS-13 or a terrorist or anything else is beside the point. What matters here is that they did everything they did to him in violation of his due process rights. What's to stop them if they decide they don't like you anymore? To say you're a criminal, you're a member of MS-13, you're a terrorist. What's to stop them from sending in some DOJ attorney at the direction of DOJ leadership to delay, to filibuster, and if necessary, to lie? And now that's you gone and your liberty changed.
I mean, you have the guy who's running the immigration division of the Department of Justice telling you that factually and legally, it is a lie to say that Kilmar Abrego Garcia is a gang member, a terrorist as a part of MS-13. And yet he's being ordered to do so. And what happens? He gets fired when he doesn't agree. Now, the other thing that Erez said that I hope resonated with you is this idea of due process. He basically said it could be you. It could be you that is unlawfully arrested, taken off the streets, held in custody, and then some lying DOJ prosecutor comes in and lies about you. There has to be a process by which you can contest the charges that are brought against you. That is the fundamentals of our United States judicial system. You are innocent until you are proven guilty. Since when? Rhetorical question, right? Because we all know the answer. Since when has that been reversed? You are guilty until proven innocent. But here's the fucked up thing. Under the Trump regime, in Trump 2.0, because the guardrails are gone, there are no adults in the room, you're always just going to be guilty because they're never going to give you access to the courts to be able to prove your innocence. However fucked up that sounds, however messed up that is, I would take that any damn day than the summary judge, jury, and executioner that this administration has become. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, admittedly deported in error to CCOT. Listen, it wasn't like he was deported to the Cayman Islands, man. He was deported to a freaking concentration camp in El Salvador, to a place he wasn't even supposed to go, right? He gets deported there, and the one person who says this was done in error, and the truth is, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, we cannot say that factually he's a member of MS-13. That man gets fired from his job. You also heard that Erez Reuveni was awarded and elevated and promoted for his competency. In Trump term 1.0, he defended the Trump DOJ against the Muslim ban. So this is not somebody who is just politically conveniently doing what works for him. He is truly an exemplary example of what Department of Justice lawyers are supposed to be. Not Lindsay Halligan, not Pamela Joe Bondi, not Todd Blanche. And heck, I'll throw in Emil Boie, even though he's now sitting on a federal appeals court. I want you to understand the following. Politico just reported on October 10th that the following 3 countries have refused to take Kilmar Abrego Garcia: Uganda, Eswatini, and Ghana. All 3 of them have said, we're not taking him. And here's where it gets even more offensively interesting. In court, in front of a federal judge, a member of the Trump administration confirmed that the White House was involved in selecting countries that Abrego might be sent to. A representative testified in court and told the federal judge in Kilmar Abrego Garcia's case, and this was Judge Zinis in Maryland. I'll get to that in a second. This man said that an official at Homeland Security Council, Matt Ochoa, told him that Uganda was a place the administration wanted to send Abrego to, but that eventually fell through. Justice Department attorneys then cut short that line of questioning with a claim of executive privilege. Oh, you want to shut him up? Because he's peeling back the curtains and showing just how much the freaking Trump White House is putting its thumb on the scale. They have selected Kilmar Abrego Garcia as the freaking, it's not even sacrificial lamb, right? It is pure on persecution. This poor man has just had it all done to him so far. And yet the Trump administration wants to make an example out of him, right? But it hasn't escaped the notice of these federal judges. Thank you to those federal judges that understand and want to continue to defend the rule of law. Judge Zinis in Maryland, she is handling his habeas corpus petition, his immigration case, right? Remember, we covered here at the Katie Phang News Channel that the dumbass Trump administration moved to recuse and sued, not just moved to recuse, but sued the entire federal bench in Maryland because of a standing administrative order that said that you cannot just summarily deport people in the dead of night. The Trump administration took such umbrage with the idea of due process that it sued the entire federal bench in Maryland so that couldn't happen. That lawsuit got thrown out. But Judge Paula Zinis is a part of that federal bench. Now, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, as we know, was brought back to the United States despite the Trump administration's claims, but we can't do it. We just cannot do it. We have no jurisdiction. The day he was brought back from CCOT, what happened? He was indicted on some bullshit federal charge of human smuggling, right? There's a criminal judge who's presiding over that case. That case was brought in Tennessee, not Maryland, Tennessee. And in that case, that's being heard in Nashville, Judge Crenshaw, he has ordered the following. He's ordered discovery and an evidentiary hearing on Kilmar Abrego Garcia's motion to dismiss for vindictive prosecution. And if there was ever a case for vindictive prosecution, It is Kilmar Abrego Garcia's case. An evidentiary hearing will take place on November 4th and 5th in just a few weeks, folks, in front of Judge Crenshaw. Discovery has been ordered, limited in scope, but that's understandable. And we've talked about vindictive prosecution here and selective prosecution here and how hard it is to get over, right? That threshold to even get to the point where you get discovery or an evidentiary hearing, and Kilmar Abrego Garcia has done it. So we are hoping that once Judge Crenshaw sees the totality of the evidence, that motion to dismiss will be granted. And I want to refresh your recollection as to what was said about why Judge Crenshaw, in his 16-page ruling, why he felt that there was a need and that the standard had been met to have this evidentiary hearing. According to Judge Crenshaw, Todd Blanche himself, Deputy Attorney General of the United States, on Fox News, Todd Blanche's own statements came back to bite him in the ass. According to Judge Crenshaw, quote, Blanche's remarkable statements could directly establish that the motivations for Abrego's criminal charges stem from his exercise of his constitutional and statutory rights to sue over his deportation, rather than a genuine desire to prosecute him for alleged criminal misconduct. Do you have no shame, Trump Department of Justice? You are firing prosecutors and DOJ lawyers that are standing up for the rule of law, that they say this is wrong and they get fired. We're seeing it happen in the Eastern District of Virginia, in New Jersey. I mean, you name it, it's happening across the United States. Good, upstanding lawyers are getting fired because they are saying you cannot do this, or not on my watch. They are either getting fired or they're quitting. We as Americans should be genuinely concerned about our public safety, because as of right now, federal criminal prosecutions ain't even happening in New Jersey because of the parking lot lawyer extraordinaire, Alina Habba, having been disqualified. We know it's also happened out in Nevada, and we know it's pending now. Today is the day that Pat Fitzgerald, the lawyer for James Comey, is filing his motion to dismiss and to disqualify Lindsay Halligan because of her illegal appointment and her invalid appointment. I'm going to play for you now a clip from 60 Minutes, but it's not of Erez Reuveni. It's actually of my good friend Ryan Goodman, a brilliant law professor. He hosts this incredible website called Just Security. It's a newsletter. And Ryan spearheaded this report about the, quote, presumption of regularity, end quote, in Trump administration litigation. Take a listen to what Ryan Goodman had to share with all of us about that.
So the judges are saying some incredible things.
Ryan Goodman is a law professor at New York University who heads a nonpartisan law journal. His team has analyzed hundreds of suits filed against the administration, and he didn't imagine what judges were saying to the Trump Justice Department.
We found over 35 cases in which the judges have specifically said, what the government is providing me is false information. It might be intentionally false information, including false sworn declarations time and again.
In court records compiled by Goodman, Democratic and Republican-appointed judges are critical of the Trump Justice Department's work. Highly misleading, said one judge. A serious violation of the court's order, wrote another. And a third warned, trust that had been earned over generations has been lost in weeks. This isn't the way things normally proceed?
It's not. In fact, I would say for some of the cases that we're looking at, maybe that would happen once every 10 years.
Who gets hurt by this?
The one entity or person or institution that gets hurt the most is the Justice Department.
Both Democratic and Republican judges are critical of the Trump administration. The representations made by the lawyers have been, quote, highly misleading. The trust that has been earned over generations has been lost in weeks. If you look at this report at Just Security's website, it says very clearly here, when this study was first published on September 15th of 2025, it had the following totals. Number one, courts' concerns over noncompliance with judicial orders, 16 cases. Now it's at 20. Number 2, the court's distrust of government information and representations. It was over 35 cases. Now it is over 40 cases. And number 3, the court's findings of, quote, arbitrary and capricious administrative action taken by this administration. Back on September 15th, it was at 52 cases. It's now at 58 cases. 58 cases, people. What does this tell you? That really, there is no presumption of regularity, this idea that things are proceeding as normal and as usual. In fact, it should be called a presumption of irregularity. You should always look now at a Trump administration prosecution or litigation with some side eye and with skepticism. Heck, even John Bolton's indictment, we should be looking at very carefully. If it was another DOJ at another time and in another administration, listen, I'll even maybe cede some ground that if it was in the Trump term 1.0 DOJ, that you could take it for what it was worth. Still have healthy scrutiny about any prosecution or any type of case that is brought. But heck, at this point, the only thing you can presume is that there is something irregular and wrong and illegal about these cases that the Trump administration is seeking to pursue through its DOJ. It's the only way to look at it. And it's tragic. And it's obscene. And those of us that are lawyers are beyond disgusted with it. It's not just me, folks. Republican lawyers, and not even never Trumpers. True conservatives know that this is not how our judicial system runs and operates. This is so violative of the basic tenets and precepts of conservatism. But the reality is, justice is blind. It is not supposed to adhere to Republican or Democratic principles or values. It's just supposed to be fucking justice. And that has now flown the coop. So that is also why you are seeing several grand juries across the United States refusing to return indictments when they are presented. And remember, we have no idea what Lindsay Halligan has presented when she has secured those indictments against Tish James and James Comey. And now you have this John Bolton, excuse me. Look, I again laud 60 Minutes. I want to specifically, explicitly say thank you to Erez Reuveni and to Ryan Goodman and to all of these judges and those other lawyers, those of you that are faceless and nameless right now, that are working at the DOJ, that are fighting against the grain, that are saying, we're not going to take this. I appreciate you and I thank you. And we as Americans who believe in democracy do as well. Katie Phang here. We launched the Katie Phang News Channel in partnership with the Midas Touch Network so we could bring you the latest in legal and political news. Straight, no chaser. So if you're a fellow truth teller, hit that subscribe button and share the word about this channel so we can build a high information America together.